All right, today we are diving into the incredible story of how one single, really ambitious dynasty managed to pull ancient Egypt out of more than a century of total chaos. We're talking about reunifying a broken kingdom and kicking off one of its most famous golden ages. Okay, let's get into it.
It's a huge question, right? It's something leaders have been wrestling with for, well, forever. But for our story, this is the central problem facing the ancient Egyptians around 2100 BCE. How on earth do you take a nation that's completely shattered and make it whole again?
So for more than 100 years, this is basically what Egypt looked like. It wasn't one kingdom, it was two, at least. You had these rival power centers, Memphis up in the north, and the rising city of Thebes down in the south. You can even see the names of some of the early kings inside those ovals, which, we call cartouches. And this was not some friendly competition. This was a time of civil war and deep, deep division.
So what do we call this era? Well, historians call it the First Intermediate Period. And really, it was just as chaotic as it sounds. The central government of the Old Kingdom, it had totally collapsed. It left this huge power vacuum that was basically filled by a bunch of regional warlords.
But out of all that chaos, something new began to stir. Way down in the south, in a city that would become the stuff of legend, a new line of rulers was about to step onto the stage of history.
The really key thing to notice on this timeline is when the 11th Dynasty gets started. See it right there? It's smack in the middle of that chaotic First Intermediate Period. These guys didn't inherit some stable kingdom. They were literally born from the division itself. And listen, these weren't just some local governors trying to hang on to their little piece of territory. No. The Theban kings, starting with Intef I, they had a much bigger vision. Their entire purpose, politically and militarily, was reunification. It was an incredibly bold and, frankly, a ridiculously difficult goal. So after decades and decades of struggle, one king from this Theban dynasty would finally achieve that goal. And his name would echo through Egyptian history as the Great Unifier. And this is him, Nebhepetre-Mentuhotep II. You're going to want to remember that name. He is the central figure in this whole story, the pharaoh who managed to consolidate power, defeat his rivals in the north, and finally put an end to the civil war.
And this is the year it all came together. Right around 2055 BCE, Mentuhotep II reunified Upper and Lower Egypt under his rule. Just like that, the division was over.
I absolutely love this description. It's so perfect, so vivid. He wasn't just a conqueror who smashed his enemies. He was a restorer. It's like he took the two frayed ends of Egypt and, through sheer force of will and military power, literally stitched them back into a single, cohesive country. And here's the thing you have to understand. His reign wasn't just the end of a really bad time. It was the beginning of a great one. This moment right here is the official start of the Middle Kingdom, a period of just incredible stability, wealth, and cultural achievement for Egypt.
So what did this reunification actually look like on the ground? Well, once the fighting stopped, Egypt could finally focus on building again. And with that unity came this absolute explosion of creativity and progress. And oh man, did they get to building. With all the country's resources no longer being poured into a civil war, Mentuhotep II and his successors launched these massive construction projects. We see the return of huge, grand royal monuments and temples, a really clear signal to everyone that the pharaoh was back in charge.
And wow, if you want a picture of their ambition, this is it. This is the mortuary complex at Deir el-Bahri. It's this stunning, totally innovative terraced temple that was unlike anything anyone had ever built before. It was a statement piece, a powerful symbol of a new age and a reborn monarchy.
This phrase just captures the whole spirit of the age perfectly, doesn't it? It was a visible, tangible return to glory, something carved in stone for the entire world to see. But hey, it wasn't just about throwing up big, impressive buildings. To make this unity actually stick, Mentuhotep II had to fix the system that broke in the first place. As you can see, he reorganized the entire government, centralized his own authority, and got the economy humming again by restoring trade routes. They even sent expeditions as far as the land of Punt, way down in Africa. And crucially, he had to completely redefine his relationship with those powerful regional governors.
Yeah, I know, bureaucracy doesn't sound nearly as exciting as giant temples. But this stuff, the grain, the records, the roads, this is the essential work of nation building. This administrative overhaul was the absolute bedrock of the Middle Kingdom's stability.
And you know what happens when a country is stable and prosperous? The culture just explodes. Art flourished. You see statues becoming way more detailed and naturalistic. But even more profound changes were happening in the spiritual world.
Now, what is really interesting here is the emergence of what we call the coffin texts. See, before this time, having access to all the elaborate spells you needed for a successful trip to the afterlife was pretty much reserved for the king. But the coffin texts made these spells available to regular people, well, wealthy regular people. It essentially democratized the afterlife, and that was a massive shift in Egyptian religious belief.
And that's just the perfect way to put it. The 11th Dynasty didn't just rebuild the physical country, they oversaw a time when the very ideas about life and death and art were being completely reimagined.
So when it's all said and done, what's the ultimate legacy of this dynasty? Why do they matter so much in the long story of ancient Egypt?
I mean, this before and after chart really says it all, doesn't it? It's night and day. The 11th Dynasty took Egypt from a state of total fragmentation and chaos and transformed it. They replaced warlords with a pharaoh and stagnation with a full-blown renaissance.
And that right there is the crucial takeaway. What they did was so much more than just restoring the old ways. They laid a new, much stronger foundation, administratively, culturally, and politically, that allowed the celebrated Middle Kingdom to thrive for the next 200 years.
It kind of leaves us with this final thought, you know? The story of the 11th Dynasty shows us that after a huge crisis, the greatest leaders don't just try to glue the old pieces back together. They use that opportunity to build something new, something stronger. It's a timeless lesson in leadership, drawn right from the sands of ancient